Alrighty, with Super Rugby round the corner, as in tomorrow night, we are introducing our segment, the Ruck Puck Vibe 15, which we're going to keep track of over Super Rugby. Now, one of the biggest reasons that I started this channel was because every year the All Blacks team gets announced, and every year I'm semi disappointed over the lack of, informed Super Rugby players, youngsters that are being selected in preference to the tried and tested, the experienced players. There is obviously a need to select a certain amount of international players that have already played, that are established, that do have experience, but you need to be bringing through the younger players, and you need to be rewarding players that are performing throughout your national club competition. So with that in mind, we are introducing the Vibe 15, which is going to be, it's not really going to be a team of the week. It's going to be a rolling team of the week, where players will drop out of, and you know maybe reclaim their spots, and it's going to flip flop throughout the year, and it's just going to be based around form. So that at the end of the Super Rugby season, we have 15 or 23 players that we have right in front of us, and when the All Blacks team gets announced, we can sort of compare the two. And you'd like to think there'd be a bit of overlap there because you know this is this is how they should be selecting the All Blacks, instead of just the same old teams, um, every single year. So anyway, without further ado, and with all that in mind, I have come up with a starting Vibe 15, based off of, well, originally it was based off of the preferred All Black team from last season. However, with the amount of All Blacks being rested this weekend, on top of the injuries and the fact that the Hurricanes are having a bye, uh, I have decided to start the team with, I guess, my view, the best players in those positions, and a little sprinkling of the young, untested, up and coming players as well. So, with that in mind, let's jump straight into it. We're going to go through it in two parts, starting with the forwards. Alrighty, so this is the starting Ruck and Puck Vibe 15 forward pack. Let me just run through. This is the original one that I did a couple of weeks ago. So let's just run through the names. It's Mighty Williams, Cody Taylor, Fletcher Newell. I think most people would agree that is our best front row, or the most preferred front row from last season, not including Tyrell Lomax, who was injured for most of it. Josh Lord, Fabian Holland in the locks. Fancy Josh Lord. He had a great end of season tour, and Fabian Holland, well, we all know how good he was last year in his breakthrough year. Tupu Vai, one of the best locks in the country, had a few cameos at six, and he's so good. He was so good last season. I just want to see him in there, so he's gone in at six. Luke Jacobson at seven, because Artie Savia is on sabbatical, and so is Scott Barrett. So neither of those were considered. I've gone for the next best. Luke Jacobson didn't get a hell of a lot of All Black game time last year because of injuries, but he's in there in my starting Vibe 15. And Peter Lakai at 8, because I think he became the All Blacks, number 8, through his performances in the back end of the season. On the bench, Ethan de Groot, Samasoni Takiaho, Tyrell Lomax, Tuipulotu, and Satiti. Now, as I mentioned, a lot of this has changed because players have been injured, and now we've seen who's actually playing this weekend. There's a few All Blacks not playing. There's a few All Blacks on the bench. And the Hurricanes have a bye. So I've gone through and I've rejigged it. I've taken out all the players that are not playing this weekend, and obviously the players that are injured, and I've replaced them. So let's have a look at the first one, and we have replaced Mighty Williams, who was not playing this weekend, with Ethan de Groot. Ethan de Groot comes in off the bench, and I've gone and replaced Ethan de Groot with Joshua Fuzitua on the bench. I want to go for the younger players and a nod to the future, really. So Fuzitua gets on there instead of a more experienced prop. Cody Taylor and Fletcher Newell are playing this weekend, albeit from the bench. We know with, especially the front row, they do come on quite early. So I do expect Taylor and Newell to feature heavily and to impact the game against the Highlanders on the weekend. In the locks, we've changed. So obviously Fabian Holland's out injured for the season. So Tupivai moves straight into the locking duo next to Josh Lord. And I've replaced Tupivai with Howden at 6. Now, a lot of you are probably looking at me wondering why I did that. And there's not really anything more to it other than the fact that I just want to look at the younger players. He had a good season for the Highlanders last year. He made the All Blacks 15 at the end of the season tour. I didn't feel like, well, Parker's not playing this weekend anyway, and I just didn't feel like he took it with both hands, his opportunity in the All Blacks last season. So let's throw it to a younger guy who, we're desperate for a New Zealand six to put their hand up for the All Blacks. So let's go. Put your hand up, Howden. He's in there to start the season. Luke Jacobson is not playing 7 for the Chiefs. He's at 8, which I didn't even think about, to be honest. So he's been moved to 8, and Ethan Blackadder comes in at 7. Obviously, no Adi Savia. Hurricanes have a bye, so I didn't think about Karifi, but I still think Blackadder, despite his injuries, when he does play, he is one of the best 7s in the country. And I also didn't want another Chiefs player in that pack. So yeah, I went with Blackadder. If he can stay fit, expect another big season out of him. Moving to the bench, I had to make a few changes here. Obviously, I mentioned Fuzitua. Samasoni Takiyaho keeps his spot because he's playing this weekend. I went with Dyer, another Chief, just because a nod to the future, a nod to someone who doesn't necessarily have that All Black experience. I thought we'd throw him in there. And then Tui Pelotu is injured. He's out for about 10 or 11 weeks. So he's been replaced by Sam Derry on the bench. It was out of him or Berry. And I just felt, well, Derry is an All Black. He's a younger player, and he has a big future, I believe. So he gets his chance there on the bench. And probably the weirdest one is Papali'i because, he's not a younger player. He's not an exciting up and coming player. He's an established player who has been out of favour at the All Blacks, or he was out of favour with Scott Robertson. So it's going to be an interesting season for him. Maybe he feels rejuvenated this year, knowing that there's a new coaching team coming for the All Blacks. Well, we all know that he was. I don't know if it's common knowledge now, but I'm pretty sure he was the one that came out and said that he turned down the opportunity to play for the All Blacks last year because of the coaching team. So maybe he feels like he's got another shot now, and hopefully he has a big season because I do believe he's got quite a lot to offer. The All Blacks, he does have a fair bit of utility. He's a big body. He can play around all the loose forward positions there. So yeah, that's it. That's the Ruck and Puck Vibe 15 forward pack. And now we're going to go straight in and have a look at the backs. Alrighty, so looking at the back line for the Ruck and Puck Vibe 15, this was the original, as I did with the forwards. This was the original team that I'd chosen. Roygaard at 9, McKenzie at 10. Roygaard's self-explanatory. Damien McKenzie, I felt like with Bowden Barrett's drop off of form in the end of last year, that it was for lack of a better option and lack of an option that has any experience. I thought Damien McKenzie earned his the starting 10 role. Geordie Barrett, he's largely been the main number 12 for the All Blacks over the past few years. Quinn Tupaia came in and was great as well, but he was also excellent at 13, so I've got him at 13. Leroy Carter, he was the main guy there on the wing since he came into the team against South Africa, and then Caleb Clark, probably the best winger in New Zealand at the moment with a skill set that New Zealand needs more of, to be honest. He's great in the air. He's damaging ball runner. So he's a certainty in that team. And then Will Jordan at fullback. On the bench, I had Cortez Ratama, Bowden Barrett, and Lester Fainganuku. Bowden Barrett wouldn't make my Vibe 15 team based on what he did last year, but there's no one really else that has had that opportunity. Anyway, with that in mind, and with the fact that I have needed to redo all of this because half these guys aren't even playing the first week, let's get into the changes that I made, and let's see what the Ruck Puck Vibe 15 backline is made up of. So, Roygaard not playing the first week because the Hurricanes have a bye. We've gone with Noah Hotham, arguably the number 2 in the country. He was the preferred option last year behind Roygaard when he was fit. So he is the number 9. Damian McKenzie not playing the first week, so he comes out. And now, a bit controversial, I've gone with Stephen Perifetta. Now, the reason I've gone with Stephen Perifetta is because I am all on board this guy having a bounce back year. He's had a tough few years with injuries. I would love to see him stay fit and have a really, really good crack at the 10 jersey. Maybe he can make a claim before Bowden comes back. I don't know where Bowden's going to play. Surely Bowden stays at 10. Surely. So when he comes back, he goes straight to 10. But maybe Perifetta gets some game time there. I would really like to see him show us what he's got and live up to his potential. So I've got him there at 10 as a, one of these like fingers crossed ones. Geordie's come out as well because Hurricanes not playing. I've replaced him with Quinn Tupaia. I think that's a straight swap. And with that, I have replaced Quinn Tupaia at 13 with his mate at the Chiefs, Daniel Rona. Now, that's probably the best centre combination in New Zealand rugby right now, and Daniel Rona really, really underrated. Maybe him linking up with Quinn Tupaia helps his case for an All Black spot. Quinn proved last year that he is just super, super important to this All Black team, whether that was, 12, back up to Geordie or in the 13 jersey. He was excellent in the 13 jersey. So I think he could even jump out on the wing if necessary. But yeah, super important. So what better person to have next to him in an All Black setup than a guy like Daniel Rona, who's used to playing with him every week. But that's who I've gone for there. Moving on to the wingers, we have I've replaced Leroy Carter because he's not playing the first week, and I went with someone who I have wanted in the All Blacks for a while now, and that's Caleb Tangitau. He was excellent for the Highlanders last season. Super exciting player. I'm really excited to see how he goes this season, and hopefully takes another step. Yeah, I mean there are other wingers I could have picked, but I just really, really want to see him do well this year. So this is kind of like a I hope he's in the All Black team sort of a selection. Caleb Clark retains his spot because he will be playing this weekend for the Blues. And at fullback, I know Will Jordan is on the bench for the Crusaders. However, I got so carried away with selecting Caleb Tangitau that I just decided, you know what, bugger it. Jacob Ratumatavuki-Neepkins there at fullback. When I think of the Highlanders, I think of these two guys, Caleb Tangitau and Ratumatavuki-Neepkins. Two really young, exciting players in the back three. The All Blacks are crying out for an exciting young back three. They're crying out for an exciting backline, some change, because it's been super stagnant for the last couple of years. So that is it. That is my backline. If we move to the bench, Bowden Barrett's come out because he's not playing for a few weeks. I've put in Josh Jackham. Now, there was an argument maybe he should be starting because he was on the All Blacks 15 tour and played very well, and he had a great year for Taranaki. But for me, I just see Josh Jackham just he's going to be behind Damien McKenzie all year. It's McKenzie's 10 jersey, and I just don't know how many opportunities he's going to get. I hope he I hope he really, when he does get a chance, he really stands up and makes that decision for John O'Gibbs tough, because it's a shame that, he's not going to the Highlanders until next year. I know the Chiefs sort of denied him an early release. So it'll be a tough year for him if he's just doesn't get any game time, but he is hoping he does. And when he does, he puts his best foot forward. Cortez Ratamar back up 9. And Lester Fainga'anuku, who is he is just the best impact player in New Zealand, right? For the All Blacks, he can cover 3 positions, and one of those being flanker. He can play in the loose forwards, which is really, really interesting because there's a lot of talk about hybrid players. I know there was another one at the Crusaders in Ollie Mathis, who I'm excited to see as well. But Fainga'anuku, by the sounds of it, they're looking to use him as more of a hybrid player to play across the back line and also in the forwards, which is going to be super interesting. It's a lot of ramifications there for not just Super Rugby and the Crusaders, but the All Blacks and their setup going forward. So yeah, I don't think you can go past this guy. I wouldn't be surprised to see him weasel his way into the starting team very soon. I'm expecting a big season from Fainga'anuku. But that's it, guys. That is the back line. Alrighty, guys. So that is the full Ruck and Puck Vibe 15. I just wanted to throw it up on the screen so everyone can have a look there. As I said, this is going to change hopefully every week. Players coming in and players going out. If that doesn't happen, it's going to be a pretty boring Super Rugby season. But yeah, it's just it's we're going to be doing some other things around tracking the depth around New Zealand rugby, taking I guess a more in-depth look at certain positions and who's knocking on the door, especially of the Ruck and Puck Vibe 15. We're sort of only going over who makes the team and not who's making big moves. But we'll have a look at our power rankings around different positions. Keep track of the high ball kings, who's able to diffuse the most high balls in the competition. Because from what I've heard, there's going to be plenty of box kicking, and that is one of the All Blacks' Achilles' heels is the fact that no one can catch. So we're going to be keeping track of that as well, and a couple other segments which will be starting next week. So if you do like what I'm putting together, if you like the sound of this and want to follow along, then please subscribe and please like and comment on this video. Let me know who you think should be in the starting team, if there's anyone I've overlooked, and let me know who you think is going to have a big year this year. Maybe some younger guys I haven't mentioned because I don't know everything. I certainly don't know everything. I don't come here and claim to know everything, but I wanna be on the lookout for these guys. I want to add them to my watch list, and so we can keep track and create some more content around the people and the players that people want to see. So thank you for watching. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the rugby. Hopefully, it's an opening round that we can all be proud of and happy with, and we have plenty to talk about next week. Cheers, guys.